Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and you like to hear about opinions, reviews, and analyses on films, books, and TV shows, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more content from me. Today's video will be on Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. And yes, the film, not the book. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the Percy Jackson books, and the series was what inspired me to be a writer in the first place. That being said, I do have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the films. On one hand, it's just about the worst way you can adapt a novel to the screen. It tops the list of worst book adaptations ever. On the other hand, without the film, I never would have discovered the books in the first place. So my video today will be an almost rant video, I would like to say. Like, I do have a lot of criticisms about the film as an adaptation of the novels, but there were some good things in the film. Not a lot, but there were some. So let's begin with my critiques. There were literally so many changes that the film made from the books. From the beginning, there was one that bugged me a lot.
Zeus? Poseidon.
It's been many years.
No. They literally have to see each other twice a year at least. Winter solstice and summer solstice. Also in this scene, Poseidon blames Zeus for Percy not knowing who he is, even though it wasn't really his fault in the books. Like, Percy shouldn't know who he is because it puts him in even more danger. Blaming Zeus makes him seem like the villain when, okay, he's a crap ruler sometimes, but he's not villainous, you know? Another thing that angered me was this.
Percy, this is about your father. I was working at the Jersey Shore when we first met.
Like, how dare they change Poseidon and Sally's love story from meeting on a beach in Montauk to Jersey Shore? Please, that makes it less romantic. And these changes happen before the halfway point in the film, by the way. With so many changes from the book, the film almost feels like a fan fiction that strays so far from canon. If I were to give this film tags like Archive of Our Own, it would be hashtag canon divergent, hashtag alternate universe, and let's not forget, hashtag OOC, aka out of character. Another thing I missed from the books were the semi-prophetic dreams Percy had in the novels that signaled that not everything was what it seemed. Because misdirection and appearance versus reality were one of the major themes of the series. The next thing I hated, the speedrun of Annabeth and Percy's friendship to relationship. There's no slow burn, there's a lot of weird tension, and it's not so much friendship as a weird love at first sight. Plus, also Annabeth not giving Percy the tour of the camp and changing it to Grover denies us the chance to see their friendship develop early on before the quest. By far, I would have to say my biggest critique was aging up the characters from 12 to 17 to appeal to a larger audience. The whole point of the book series was for us to grow along with Percy and to also see these kids preparing to fight for a war. Like, 17 is still young, but 12 is practically a baby. There is a very huge difference in watching 12-year-olds cross the country to stop a war versus 17-year-olds. In terms of major plot points that they changed, one of the main things was the revelation of Percy being a son of Poseidon, which Chiron and Grover knew in the film. The whole point in the books was that Percy wasn't supposed to be alive and no one was supposed to know who his dad was until Poseidon claimed him. This was a huge plot point in the series as a whole. The gods being absent parents and not claiming their kids was one of the major reasons why Luke turned against the gods. In the film, we don't see Percy struggling and being resentful about not knowing who his dad was, and that strips away a layer of his character. Like, sure, we get maybe a scene of him being upset, but they don't dwell on it. The film also ignores Annabeth and Luke's familial relationship, which takes away the sting of his betrayal when it's revealed that he is the lightning thief. Also, there's no mention of the Great Prophecy, which explains so many things and would have closed up any and all plot holes in the film. There's literally so many changes about made that if I were to list every single one and rant about them, this video would be like 4 hours long. So I tried to keep it short with the changes that really bothered me, but there was still so many things like that bothered me. And so I rewatched the film, and here's yet another thing that bugged me. The film butchered Hades and Persephone. Like, it's summer. Why is she in the underworld when she should be with her mother? And like, there's so many versions of the myths, but she's the queen of the underworld and Hades treats her with respect. She wouldn't blast him with a lightning bolt, and he would not scream at her the way he did in the underworld. And I feel very strongly about this, since Hades is a misunderstood god because his domain is death. But he's not such a bad guy. Some myths even claim that Zeus was the one who actually gave Persephone's hand in marriage to Hades, as opposed to Hades taking her by force. It just bothers me because they weren't even half as awful to each other in the books either. Like, yeah, Hades got mad at her one time, but he didn't yell at her the way he did in the film, you know? Moving on to my final critique of the film. Luke sucked massively as the antagonist. Why? His motivations suck in the film, like that's the best way to put it. He wants to take over from the gods because he believed that their generation is entitled to ruling. What? You took a complex villain and reduced him to a power-hungry thief. All he wanted in the books was for the gods to be better parents and to claim their kids. They made Luke cartoonish, and I would never forgive them for that. Okay. Now that I've finished with my critiques and ranting of the film as an adaptation, I did mention that there were some not so bad things about the film. The main thing was the casting. Logan Lerman was pretty good as Percy, like the definition of right person, wrong timing. Logan Lerman looks like Percy in the Heroes of Olympus era, just not the Percy Jackson and the Olympians era. Another thing I didn't mind were some of the funny lines from the film.
I wish I could spend all day in the water instead of this place.
Right? It's like high school without the musical.
Now, Percy, take this to defend yourself. It's a powerful weapon. Guard it well. Only use it in times of severe distress.
This is a pen. This is a pen.
A really cool thing they did in the film too was showing how Percy's dyslexia worked, with how the words shifted from English to Greek and vice versa. I also did love the use of AC/DC in the film, like very iconic of them to use Highway to Hell when they were on the Highway to Hell. Also, the entire sequence with Medusa. Uma Thurman as Medusa was a great casting choice, and then using an iPhone to look at Medusa's reflection, like peak 2010 vibes. I thought that nothing else could top that, until the casino montage. I mean, the entire montage with Poker Face by Lady Gaga playing in the background, like these things really embody the 2010s, and I'll admit, I love that the film did that. The final thing I loved about the film was Percy using his water powers to defeat Luke, and like just seeing that play out on screen was so dope. So I will conclude by saying that I can almost understand the changes they made from the book. It's easier to understand if you didn't read the book and you don't need the book as a reference to understand the chain of events in the film. This circles back to appealing to a wider audience for profit. This does end up ruining what makes the book so loved and enjoyable though. So for all of its faults, it did influence me to read the books and have me fall in love with the series. And it's a horrid adaptation, but there were some enjoyable things about the film. Of course, once you read the books and then you go back to watching the film, you're like, what the hell did I just watch? But if you didn't read the books beforehand, like, It's an okay film, like not the worst film ever, but definitely not the best film either. And that's a wrap on Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. My next video is going to be up by the end of September / early October, and it will be on the final gambit. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.